Tonight, you're not just listening to history, you're entering it. Not with textbooks, not with maps, but with breath, with skin, with blood. This isn't a story of thrones and crowns, not of diamonds or velvet or queens who smile in painted portraits. No, this is the story of queens you were never meant to see. Hidden queens, bound queens, queens whose power lived not in their voices, but in their veins. Because here, power isn't won by war. It's bred, and blood is destiny. The blood of queens flows like a river, but sometimes it circles back on itself. Close your eyes. Let go of electricity, of borders, of your own name. Slip backward, slowly, through dust, through silence, through centuries. You land softly in the golden heart of the Sahel, where the earth is cracked with heat and the wind tastes like sand and old bronze. It is the year 1312, and the Mali Empire is rising like firelight across West Africa. You hear the world before you see it, the low hum of drums deep in the baobab groves, the scrape of wooden bowls as women stir millet at dawn, the heavy breath of camels waking outside the gates of Niani, the capital. But none of this belongs to you, not the market, not the sun-baked alleys, not even your own choices. You do not walk freely. You wake in silk. Your bed is carved from acacia, your body oiled with shea and powdered gold. You wear wealth like a skin. But it is not yours. You are 15, a daughter of kings, a niece of emperors. And today you marry your cousin, your mother's brother's son, your blood, your mirror, your cage. You've never left the palace. You've never bartered, never spoken to a man who wasn't a eunuch or a relative, never run, never screamed. But you've been trained since your first blood, to walk like still water, to smile like carved ivory, to carry a lineage in silence. They call it honor, but deep inside your ribs, it feels like a cage. The morning light filters through patterned cloth, dyed with indigo and wrapped like memory over the windows. You sit as your body is prepared, oiled, braided, veiled. No one meets your eyes. Because to look at a royal woman, a Gelia, is an offense. Even your name is sacred, rarely spoken, almost forgotten. You are no longer a girl. You are a vessel, a calculation, a sealed urn of royal blood. Outside, the empire stirs. Scholars unwrap scrolls. Merchants display salt and gold and cloth beneath tents. But inside these red clay walls, time does not move. It loops, like bloodline, like obligation, like prayer circles written in ash. You were born to continue a line, not just to bear a child, but to birth a reflection, to carry blood so pure it folds in on itself. They tell stories here of Sundiata Keita, the Lion King, of the boy who could not walk but still conquered. And they remind you, royal blood must never mix with dust. You glance into a polished brass bowl. Your reflection stares back. Perfect, symmetrical, familiar, too familiar. Your cousin's face looks like yours. Your uncle's eyes sit in your skull. Your mother's skin lives in your hands. You are beauty, yes, but also repetition. You've heard the whispers of children born too quiet, of minds that drift, of queens who braid the air and talk to spirits no one else can see. Your aunt is one of them. You once asked your mother what happened. She whispered, "Too much purity bends the mind." Then never spoke of it again. Now you sit, bathed, veiled, dressed in linen and coiled braids shaped like spiraling suns. Symbols everywhere. Fertility, empire, eternity. You do not cry. You were trained not to. But somewhere inside you, in a part of yourself you've kept buried under obedience. A thought rises. What if I am the one to break it? You are led through a hallway painted with glyphs, not for beauty, but for protection. Charms for strong airs, prayers against sickness, warnings to wandering spirits. Because your task is not to love, it's to preserve, to carry the empire forward, untainted, circular, unbroken, silent. The blood of queens flows like a river, but sometimes it circles back on itself. This isn't just your wedding, it's a ritual, a spell cast by centuries of fear and ambition. You don't walk toward a man, you walk toward an echo. You are not meant to be remembered as a person, you are meant to be remembered as a line, a mother of legacy, a symbol carved in skin. But even now, beneath the perfumes, the cloth, the gilded silence, you feel it. The first tremble, the first crack. Something old is unraveling. And somehow, it starts with you. Let the day begin. Before your eyes open, something burns. It isn't incense, it isn't perfume, it's metal, salt, blood. A thick coppery heat rises in the back of your throat, sharp, unclean. The smell of something once alive, now dried, drained, and sacred. You didn't sleep in your bed last night. Not in your room. Not as yourself. You were placed, offered, on a ceremonial mat woven from goat hair and prayers. The room has no windows, only walls painted with spirals, symbols, and 1,000 staring eyes. And above your head, a god with 6 tongues and no mercy watches from the ceiling. You didn't dare lie down, because they warned you. If you turn your back to the god of fertility, you turn your back on every mother who came before you. The matrons of purity brought you here at midnight. No words, just footsteps in the dark. Each one echoed like thunder, as if even the walls bore witness. They led you into this room, not to rest, but to be unmade. Before a queen becomes one with her bloodline, they said, she must forget she was ever separate from it. Your spine aches from the long night. Your knees sting. Your body is soaked with the scent of fear held too long. The cloak around you, old, damp, it belonged to the queen who came before you. The one whose name is no longer spoken. The one who bled too early. Who whispered nonsense into the grass. Who died without ever birthing an heir. You wear her robe now. Her skin, her memory, her failure, pressed against your own. The air in the chamber is thick. It clings to your mouth. Dust lines your tongue like sand. There is no wind, no birdsong, no bells. Only the buzz of flies behind a curtain of meat by the door. Last night's goat sacrifice, strung up while you knelt in prayer. You didn't look. You were taught not to. The smell rises slowly now. Rotting milk, old leather, sacred decay. You try to breathe through it. You almost gag, but you don't. Because you were taught, queens do not gag. You remember your nurse. The day they pierced your ears with golden pins, not for beauty, but for obedience. You'll get used to it, she whispered, stroking your cheek. But then you bled for the first time, and they took her away. Since that day, no one has touched your face without gloves. A creak, the door opens, a eunuch steps inside, robed in white, eyes lowered, masked, in his hands a bowl of fermented millet water and a cold boiled yam, your wedding breakfast. He doesn't speak. He places it on the floor and vanishes. The yam is dry, the water tastes of burnt wood and rust. Your stomach turns, but you eat, because this is what they call cleansing. But what you feel isn't purity. It's something else, something slithering beneath your ribs. Not fear of what they ask, but of what they see in your eyes when they ask it. Surprise? Historical fact. In medieval African dynasties, especially across the Sahel and Sahelo-Saharan royal houses, inbreeding was not ignorance. It was doctrine, a divine tool. Cousins married cousins to preserve holy bloodlines. The purer the lineage, the closer to the gods. Children of these unions were revered, but also feared. They were born with seizures, with twisted limbs, with minds that drifted into clouds by age 20. Still, it continued, because once a bloodline breaks, it cannot be rewoven. You feel that weight now, not in your mind, but in your body. You stand. The robe falls from your shoulders like a forgotten name. You are led, wordless, to a hole in the floor. A ritual bath, carved from earth. Dark, cold, deep like a tomb. You descend. The water bites you. Your breath leaves your body, but you do not shiver. You were taught never to shiver. The elder women surround you, their eyes red from chewing cola nut, their mouths mute. They scrub you, braid you, touch your body like it belongs to history, not to you. One hums softly. You recognize the melody, a lullaby from before you were royalty, before you were sacred. But she doesn't sing to you. No one does. They paint your forehead in ochre, mark your chest with ash. Then whisper a name into your ear, not your name, his, your cousin, your husband, your reflection. You haven't seen him since you were 10. He gave you a mango once. You laughed. But now he is not a boy, and you are not a girl. You are a queen to be, whether you wish to be or not. You're brought into the courtyard. The sun strikes your eyes like fire. And then you hear it. The first drum beat, thump, then another, thump, thump. Not mourning, not war, a rhythm for union. You must walk to it, with grace, with silence. You see yourself in a polished obsidian mirror beside the gate, and for a heartbeat, you do not recognize what you see. Ash on your face, gold around your throat. 7 layers of cloth binding you to your lineage. Blue for strength, white for purity, red for blood. You are wrapped in your family's symbols, and beneath all of it, you are trembling. But no one sees that, because queens are not allowed to tremble. Not in this world. Not today. Not ever. Your first task today is simple. Stay alive until the sun reaches its peak. Not in war. Not in labor. But here, in silk and silence, in a palace gilded with memory and repetition, that task becomes survival itself. The drums have faded. The celebration has collapsed into dust and stillness. Your cousin husband, your mirror made from matching blood, has returned to his quarters. No words were exchanged, no glances passed, no vows spoken, because none were needed. The union is written in the skin. It is older than consent. Now begins the part no poet sings about, no scribe records. The invisible part of royal life, where power looks like passivity, and obedience is your only performance. You walk the halls alone, each corridor more silent than the last. No one meets your eyes. Not the kitchen women, not the eunuch guards, not even the ink-stained scribes who once smiled at you as a child. Now, you are no longer a child. You are a queen in motion, and queens do not receive smiles. The palace wraps around you like a labyrinth built from bloodlines. Every painted wall whispers a sermon, birds with 2 heads, trees with twisted trunks, suns trapped inside suns, each symbol repeating itself, forever. Like your family, like your fate, like your name, which echoes your mother's and her mother's and hers before that. You pass the nursery, The doors are closed. But behind the wooden lattice, you hear it, a cough. Small, dry, repeating. You freeze just for a breath. Then you keep walking. You were taught not to stop. You enter the inner garden. 1 hour of solitude, they told you. But solitude does not exist here. The matrons of the blood sit like stone gargoyles on the upper balconies, arms inked with clan symbols, faces lined like tree bark. They do not speak, they only watch. With scrolls on their laps, quills in hand, you don't fear their hands, you fear their eyes, because they are trained to see the things you try not to show. A slouch, a sigh, a tear that shouldn't be there. They call it decay. And decay, in a queen, is a dangerous thing. The heat thickens. The stones beneath your slippers feel like fire. You do not wince. You walk tall. You pretend the sweat is dignity. You reach for a low-hanging pomegranate. Split it with your fingers. Red jewels gleam in the sun, like rubies, like wounds. You remember what your aunt once whispered. The seeds are too beautiful. Eat too many, and your children come out wrong. She said it with a grin that didn't reach her eyes. She died without heirs. You place the fruit back on the branch, untouched. You try to take a deep breath. But the air feels borrowed. Even your own lungs don't fully belong to you. Around you, the garden walls pulse with ancestral weight. Every stone has watched 100 queens before you, especially the broken ones. By midday, the heat is unbearable. Your robes stick to your skin like a second punishment. Still, you walk. Still, you don't ask for water. Don't ask for shade. Don't ask for mercy. Queens don't beg. Not even when they're hungry. Especially when they're hungry. You pass the bronze relief of Queen Nyaramansa. Her likeness is cast in eternal metal. They say she married her twin. They say her daughter died inside her. They say her mind shattered like clay dropped from a rooftop. But her image remains, because she fulfilled her duty. You stare at her hollow bronze eyes. And somewhere deep inside, a single forbidden thought forms. What if I am not meant for this? The thought hits you like thunder on a clear day. What if the gold on your wrists isn't honor, but iron? What if the gods who shaped you were wrong? You hear footsteps, and like a puppet pulled by invisible strings, your spine straightens, your eyes lower, your lips seal. Your cousin walks past, surrounded by servants, draped in red, eyes forward. He does not see you, he never does. Yet tonight you will lie beside him, because the empire has spoken, because the womb must listen, because blood must bind itself again. A second voice rises in your mind, softer, sharper. What if they see the crack in you? What if you are the flaw they fear? You walk anyway, because queens don't pause. They glide, they perform. You reach your chamber. The door closes behind you like a heartbeat. Inside, the incense stings your eyes, cinnamon and frankincense, burning offerings to gods who do not answer. You sit on the woven mat, legs folded, back upright, hands resting in your lap, perfect posture, a perfect picture. But your heart, it gallops, it pounds, because beneath the layers of protocol and preparation, beneath the skin scrubbed raw by tradition, beneath the silence stitched into your tongue, something has awakened. A flicker, a fracture, a single whispered rebellion. Not loud, not obvious, but alive. Like a sprout pushing through concrete. You survived the morning, but something inside you has changed. Not enough to be noticed. Not yet, but enough that you feel it. The story they wrote for you is not the story your soul remembers. And maybe, just maybe, that matters. You move anyway, because queens don't stop. But maybe, one day soon, you'll choose where you walk. There is no room for softness in this world. No mercy, no pause, not even from the gods, especially not from them. Because gods in this world do not bless, they observe. They do not blink, they watch. Eyes carved into ivory, faces painted on clay walls, voices hidden in the cracks between sacred syllables. And today, like every fourth day of the moon's cycle, you kneel before them. Your knees are bruised already. Your spine aches from the stiffness of last night's silence. Your mouth is dry from speaking nothing but obedience. Still, you rise, still, you go. Because queens in this palace are trained to walk toward the altar, even when their hearts try to run. You walk the western hall, shadowed by 4 priestesses. Their robes are dyed the color of storm-thick sky. Their heads glint, shaven smooth. Their skin is marked with raised scars. Each one a vow, each one a year of submission. They say nothing. They do not need to. The ritual is older than sound. You follow them past faded murals, images of lion-headed gods with gold halos, serpent queens coiled around fertility trees, bird women flying backward through time. The paint flakes off in places. It doesn't matter. The ritual remembers even when the walls forget. You reach the foot of the temple steps. The air changes, thicker, cooler, quiet. You smell it, earth, as if freshly wet. But there has been no rain. More likely, it is the myrrh, the burnt milk, the blood-caked sand beneath the altar stones. Your fingers twitch, not from fear of gods, but from fear of what people do in their name. They say this is the oldest building in the empire, built before the first king was crowned, before the first cousin became a husband, before the first queen died, giving birth to her brother's child. They say it was carved by the hands of grieving mothers, each stone hauled by someone who buried a name without a tomb, each tile shaped by sorrow. You wonder if the gods saw that grief, or if they simply watched. Inside, the chamber yawns open like a ribcage. Dark, sacred, still. The light comes only from oil bowls pressed into the walls, their flames wobbling like memory. Above, gold masks circle the dome, dozens, each one a god, an ancestor, a watcher. Some grin, some cry, some are blank, just like the people who now serve them. You are led to the center mat. 7 objects wait for you, each one arranged in silence, each one known by heart. A feather from the crowned crane, fertility. A lion's tooth, strength. A cracked shell, the reach of the ocean. A polished obsidian mirror, to see your own blood reflected. A bowl of ochre, for body markings. A carved ivory doll, symbol of unborn heirs. A copper mask, to remind you, your face is not your own. You've known these symbols since before you knew your name. But today, they feel less like symbols, more like weights, chains, locks. The high priestess enters. Her face is covered in thick white clay, cracked like dried earth, like memory. Her eyes are glassy, not blind, just distant, the kind of distance that comes after too many rituals and not enough meaning. She stops just before you, close enough that you can smell the bark oil in her breath, and whispers, "You are not just a servant, you are the offering." You repeat it internally, like a verse carved into your ribs, like something meant to brand, not comfort. You are not just a servant. You are the offering. You kneel. Your forehead touches the stone, cool, cracked, old as belief. They mark your spine with ash. They press your hands into the ochre bowl, make you smear your own stomach with the red dust. The colour of blood, of labour, of inheritance. Every movement is mechanical, every gesture exact. Do not break the rhythm, they once said. The gods hate rhythm breakers. But inside you, the rhythm is slipping. A thread has come loose, and it's pulling. The high priestess begins the chant of names, your lineage, every mother, every cousin marriage, every uncle turned father, every baby who died with no explanation, every queen who bled too early or too late. You know the chant by heart. But today it feels longer, heavier, more like a eulogy than a blessing. It takes nearly an hour. You remain still, but inside you feel the names piling onto your chest, like stones. You wonder, will they chant my name one day? Or will they bury me without sound? You've seen the wall of unnames, the list of queens who failed to conceive. Their names are not sung, their faces never carved. They are folded into oblivion. To fail the womb is to vanish. You are told to lie flat, arms crossed, face up, like a body ready for burial. They circle you with burning herbs, whispering in a tongue no one speaks anymore. A dead language kept alive only in ritual. The words wash over you like wind through a dry field. No meaning, only noise dressed as meaning. Isn't that what this whole empire has become? A kingdom of gestures? A palace of sacred habits performed by people who've forgotten why? Then comes the silence, the hour of echoes, no chant, no step, no word, just the sound of your own heartbeat filling the chamber. They say this is when ancestors rise, when your blood remembers what your voice forgot. But all you hear is one thing. What if I'm not enough? You open your eyes, just a sliver. One of the gold masks is cracked. Not freshly, old, weathered, forgotten. You wonder which god it belonged to. You wonder if it cracked from age, or from anger, or maybe she cracked it herself. The high priestess returns, places the copper mask over your face, cold, heavy, unfeeling. She whispers again, "You are not just a servant, you are the offering." This time, you whisper it back, not because you believe it, but because there is nothing else to say. When you rise, the veil is drawn back over your face. You are forbidden to speak until sundown, even in thought, they say. But that's the cruelest command of all, because the only thing louder than silence is the question inside your silence. If I was born to be a sacrifice, could I ever become something else? Outside, the city breathes. A camel bell rings, a child laughs, the smell of wet clay rides the wind, but you don't move. You remain still, masked, marked, bound. You are not a queen, not a girl, not even a voice. You are a page in a script, a note in a hymn sung for the gods, a shape carved into someone else's memory. And the ink that writes you? Still wet, still trembling, still soaked in fear. As the sun slants long across the courtyard, a breeze catches your veil, lifts it just slightly, and for a moment it feels like someone you once loved just whispered your name. But no one whispers anymore. Not here, because even love is dangerous when it threatens to interrupt tradition. You are not just a servant, you are the offering. You don't believe it, but belief is not required, only obedience. There are no laws that protect you here, no paper shields, no written promises, no lines in ink that stand between your body and the will of men. There is only blood, and blood belongs to the crown, and the crown belongs to those who share it. You were born in silk, to drink first, to bathe in limestone tubs carved by the hands of women who died doing so. You sleep on cushions stuffed with egret feathers, your body anointed with oils brought from across the desert. But power? Power does not live here, not with you. It lives in the ringed fingers of your cousin husband. It sleeps behind the eyes of your uncles. It walks the halls with the swagger of boys who've never been told no. And yet, even they are caged, gilded, bowed, trapped inside the same looped bloodline that binds you. Today the palace buzzes. A tribunal has been called, the Emperor's Court of Judgment. You are not allowed to speak, but you must be seen, so the people know the Queen Consort bears witness, so the gods know she upholds her husband's justice. You sit beneath the wide tamarind tree, cloaked in 7 layers of ceremonial cloth. The weight of your robes makes it hard to breathe. Gold bangles dig into your wrists. Your face remains veiled, stitched at the hem with the sacred spiral of ancestry, a symbol of blood that folds into itself. You say nothing. You are nothing, here but presence. In the center of the court, a woman kneels. She is young, barefoot, her belly round with life. She is not noble, not protected, but she dares speak, voice quaking, because she carries the child of a prince. Your husband's brother, she begs, not for vengeance, for protection, for dignity, the noble mutter. Their voices are soft, dry as reeds. They do not speak of justice. They speak of bloodline. If the child is of royal seed, no matter how it was planted, it must not be discarded. It must be gathered, named, folded into the imperial house, like a forgotten thread woven back into cloth. The girl does not receive mercy. She receives a title, a new room, a new silk, a place in the palace she never asked to enter. She weeps, but no one calls it cruelty. They call it order. You feel your fingers curl beneath your robe. Not in fury, in recognition, because you too were absorbed into this place, not chosen, not courted, just claimed, like an heirloom. Because here, law is not written in scrolls. It is written in family trees. And those trees do not grow upward. They grow in circles. Centuries from now, historians will trace these trees. They will marvel at their symmetry, their alliances, the pure elegance of a bloodline unmarred by outsiders. They will speak of emperors, of conquests, of marriages that kept kingdoms stable. But they will not speak of the girls who bled quietly. They will not name the queens who wept behind veils. You lift your eyes to the palace dome, a soaring gourd-shaped roof, glinting with bronze dragons and solar emblems. They say it took 10 years to build, and that 3 queens died during its construction, of childbirth, of fever, of grief so heavy it sank the heart. Their names are not carved in stone. Only their wombs were recorded, only their production remembered. The tribunal ends, the men rise, the laughter begins. Your husband walks away without looking at you. But you see the turn of his mouth. A private smirk, pleased with himself. He rules, and you? You decorate his rule like incense, fragrant, fleeting, and silent. Later, you walk with one of the scribes through the archive hall. He is young, his fingers ink-stained, his gaze too honest for a palace boy. You ask quietly, "Are there laws that protect queens?" He pauses, looks at you, not like a scribe, like a person, then replies, "There are poems, but no laws." In the evening, musicians gather below your window. They sing the ballad of Queen Mabara, how she rode into battle on a horse plated with silver, how she led 3 armies, how she returned without a scratch on her silk. But they do not sing that she was married to her uncle, that her children died before they learned to read, that her kingdom collapsed when no heirs remained. You close your eyes and listen, because the story is always lovelier than the truth. And here, stories are stronger than memory, and memory is no match for legacy. You are the queen, but you are not free. You are your cousin's wife, your mother's niece, your sister's mirror, the future mother of a child that may already exist in your uncle's shadow. And tomorrow, when the blood comes again, a midwife will mark the scroll in the house of fertility. Another tally, another sign, your body, an imperial archive, a living census of lineage and expectation. But still, the thought returns, quiet, persistent, like breath against the inside of a sealed jar. What if I stepped outside the circle? What if power was not obedience, but refusal? You know better than to speak it aloud, because questioning the pattern is dangerous. It is the first step toward erasure. You watch the governor's cart pass by the gate. He does not see you, he does not need to. He has already won. And you remain draped in silence. But behind the veil, something begins to stir. Not a scream, not even a sentence, just a flicker, a tremor beneath the silence, a seed not yet spoken. A single dangerous word. What if you haven't spoken all day? But this silence isn't the kind that brings peace. It isn't the silence of solitude or serenity. It's the silence of stone pressed against bone, of words backed up in your throat like floodwater, of something fragile cracking quietly, under silk and ceremony. No one asks why. Because queens are expected to be silent, to be serene, to wear stillness like a crown. But you know the truth. You are not silent because you are composed. You are silent because if you began to speak, you might never stop. And what would come out wouldn't be fit for the throne. You sit cross-legged on the reed mat, surrounded by perfection. Imported brocade cushions, polished alabaster jars filled with jasmine and citrus oil, a low bronze bowl where incense burns in a lion's open mouth. Everything here is beautiful. Everything here is curated. But the beauty feels like suffocation. Too sweet, too perfect, too still. Even the air is staged. You lift your embroidery frame again, the same unfinished peacock you've stitched for 2 years. Its tail fans across the linen in brilliant threads of gold, teal, and crimson. But today, you stare at it like a stranger. The needle trembles in your fingers, then stills. You blink, and for a moment, the world wavers. Your hands blur, your lap swims. Your body feels both distant and heavy. You don't know if it's tears, or just exhaustion wearing a disguise. You follow the steps of your routine, wake, bathe, kneel, eat, greet the midwives, observe, smile, lower your eyes. Don't speak unless summoned. Don't ask unless spoken to. Bleed on time. Never flinch. Your body obeys, your face performs, but your soul is fraying. Maybe I wasn't made for this. Maybe the gods made a mistake. The needle slips from your hand, falls to the mat, makes no sound. Even that silence feels loud. You rise slowly. Your robes drag behind you. 4 layers, lined with gold, cinched so tightly you can feel your pulse in your ribs. It doesn't feel like clothing. It feels like containment. You pass the shelf of relics, royal combs, beaded anklets, portraits of the women who came before you. Their painted faces follow your steps with flat gazes, proud, expressionless, unreadable. You stop at one. Queen Amara II, married to her brother, birthed twins, lost both to fever, died at 29. They still call her great. You press your forehead against the cold stone frame. It smells like old dust and dried flowers. You exhale slowly, then whisper, "I'm disappearing." The words dissolve into the air before they fully leave your lips. You say them again, silently this time, tucked into the space where your real voice now lives. Your true voice, the one no one hears anymore. Somewhere deep inside, the girl you used to be tries to surface. The one who ran barefoot through fig orchards, who snuck honey with sticky fingers, who laughed so hard she snorted. That girl is still in there. But she flickers now, like the last glow in a candle's wick, starved of air. You step onto the balcony. The view should offer freedom, but it feels distant, like a world behind glass. The gardens shimmer in heat. Birds wheel above. A gardener sings to the roots, but none of it touches you. Not the wind, not the world, not even the sun. You inhale. The air tastes like burned marula, dust and mourning. Your chest tightens. Is this sorrow, or just the ache of a life unlived? You turn back inside. This room has everything a queen could ask for. Jewels, servants, perfume, power. But it offers you nothing you need. Nothing that understands, nothing that sees, nothing that listens. You walk to the hidden mirror. Not the polished copper used for ceremony, the one that lies, but the obsidian one, tucked behind a curtain in your private chamber, the one that tells the truth. You stare, and the reflection startles you. Your eyes, too hollow, your lips, faded, your shoulder, curled inward. You try to smile, but it cracks halfway through. Your body is still here, but you are not. You press your hand to your chest. You feel your own heartbeat fast, too fast. Why does a crown feel like a noose? Why does royal blood taste like dirt? Why does silence scream louder than voices? No answers come, because queens are not meant to ask, they are meant to endure. Even when endurance becomes erosion. You kneel before the window, you light a candle, then another and another, 5 flames, each flickering. Each one a monument to something you've lost. Your voice, your childhood, your choices, your body, your future. You stare into the firelight and wonder. Would anyone notice if I vanished? Would they mourn the girl? Or just the air she didn't deliver? You lie back. The ceiling is covered in spirals, ancestral symbols, looping patterns, circles without exit. You count them. You breathe slowly. Because if you move too fast, something inside might break. And queens are not allowed to break. They must perfume their pain, powder their scars, smile while drowning. A knock at the door. You stiffen. The matron enters, she bows. She places a bowl of rice and lentils before you. She sees the embroidery discarded, the candles burning, the veil forgotten on the floor. She says nothing. She turns. She leaves. She will record it. The queen reflected today. The queen lit candles. The queen was quiet. No mention of the scream behind your teeth. No mention of the heartbreak tucked under your ribs. Only the performance. Outside, dusk thickens. The sky bruises purple. A drum begins to echo in the distance. It sounds like a heartbeat, but not yours. Yours is trapped beneath 1,000 expectations. You curl onto your side. Place a hand over your belly. Not because you carry a child, but because you once carried hope there. That too has fled. Still, you survive the day. You survive the silence. You survive yourself. but the question lingers. How many more days can I wear a crown of thorns and call it gold? Tomorrow they will paint your lips again, powder your cheeks, braid your hair, rehearse the smile, but something inside has shifted. A small crack, invisible but growing, like the whisper before the thunder. You haven't spoken all day, but your silence has become a storm. And storms don't stay silent forever. You are not meant to speak today. You are meant to sit, to smile, to bear witness, beautifully, silently, as you always do. But silence today feels unbearable, too tight, too loud, like drums beneath the skin. And when it breaks like a string pulled taut for too long. Then snapping. Dawn. The summons arrives, not a call of honor, a command of appearance. A foreign delegation has entered the court gates. Dust-streaked camels, gilded chests of saffron and salt, and silver coins pressed with the profile of some faraway king. You are told to dress in crimson, to walk at your husband's side, to fold your hands, to keep your gaze downward. You have done it 100 times before, but not today. The grand audience hall yawns before you, vast, echoing, ceremonial. Pillars stretch toward the high ceiling like ribs of a slumbering giant. Mosaics of gods and beasts coil across the walls in sacred spirals. Everything here smells of wealth and clove oil and unspoken tension. The throne sits like a golden wound in the center, and beside it, your cushion, where you are to sit like a jewel, seen but not touched, witnessed but not heard. You take your place beside the emperor, your cousin, your husband, the one who holds your fate with ringed fingers. He speaks, the nobles murmur. The scribes dip their quills. Then the foreign ambassador steps forward, robes flowing, voice careful. We offer this daughter as a gift, for the emperor's house, for your bloodline, for alliance. And from behind him, she steps out. A child. She cannot be more than 10. Her braids are laced with amber. Her lips painted rose. Her hands trembling. You see her eyes, not the eyes of a gift, but of a girl who doesn't understand what is being taken from her. She tries to smile. She fails. Your heart claws against your ribs. Your breath stops, not from shock, but from recognition. Your husband raises an eyebrow, as if evaluating the softness of a robe or the ripeness of fruit. Your mouth goes dry, your fists tighten beneath layers of silk. Something inside you rises, something primal, something that remembers what it was like to be that girl. Given, not asked, dressed up, not protected. You stand and the room freezes. No queen stands unless summoned. No queen speaks unless spoken to. But you do both. Your voice wavers, but it rises anyway. She is a child. The sound cracks the air like a thunderclap. Silence folds around it, sharp and stunned. A few nobles shift. A scribe falters mid-stroke. Your husband turns his head towards you and slowly, his face carved in disbelief. This is not your concern, he says, eyes narrowing. But you are already moving. You step forward. 1 foot, then the next. Your voice strengthens. She is 10. She is not a token. She is not a vessel. She is not a gift. The foreign ambassador stutters, unsure whether to bow or retreat. The girl looks up at you, eyes wide, glistening. You meet her gaze. You do not look away. And in that moment, the spell breaks. Gasps ripple through the court like wind across water. A queen has interrupted a king. A queen has refused a custom. A queen has spoken. Somewhere, a cup shatters. Your husband rises, the weight of 100 years of law in his shadow. His voice comes like a blade. This is not your place. You hold his gaze and respond quietly, clearly. Then, perhaps, the place is wrong. The ambassador lowers his eyes. The girl begins to cry. The nobles exchange glances. Even the court scribe sets his quill down, unsure if this part should be recorded. Behind you, it begins. A whisper, faint, electric. She dares. Again, she dares. You are no longer just a queen. You are a crack in the foundation. You are the first note in a forbidden song. You kneel, not before the throne, not before tradition, but before her. The child. You reach out, take her trembling hand in yours. Your voice softens. They will not take you today. She grips you back, and just like that, a circle breaks. You rise again. The court doesn't explode. It implodes. The emperor leaves without another word. The scribes stop writing. The nobles look away. The girl is led away, not to a bridal chamber, but to a side room with servants and safety. For now, you remain standing. But you are no longer one of them. Not in their eyes. You are not a queen. You are a danger, a question, a story that refuses to stay buried. By nightfall, the halls feel different. No music, no drums, no laughter. The palace has gone quiet, like it's holding its breath. In a corner courtyard, a servant girl lights a candle. She places it beside a mural of Queen Mabara. She says nothing, but you understand. Whispers begin beneath the walls. Did you hear what she did? She stood for the girl. She said no. She broke the silence. She dared. You return to your chambers, but something has changed. Your handmaids bow deeper, not from respect, but from fear. The food is placed quietly. The mirror is veiled. Your embroidery frame has been moved. You are not punished, not yet, but you are being watched. This is how it begins. Not with swords, with stillness, with careful movements, with the temperature of power subtly shifting. But inside you, there is air now. There is light. You did not stop the world, but you saved one girl. And in a place like this, that is revolution. The price will come. It always does. But tonight, in your quiet chamber, as you unfasten your golden belt, as you peel the paint from your face, as you kneel before the flickering flame, you realize something. You lit a match in a house soaked in oil. And tomorrow you will see what burns. What happens next will follow you into legend or oblivion. Power doesn't live in the throne room. It doesn't echo through the titles of men. It does not glitter in gold or bloom in royal blood. No, true power lives elsewhere. It lives in the things no one notices. In the pinch of thread between a girl's teeth. In the knife a servant hides in her braid for safety. In the blistered heel of the boy who runs 2 miles just to deliver your hair oils. You are told you are sacred. That your body is the symbol of luxury. That your presence is the reward of empire. But this morning, something inside you shifts. You choose to see. It begins not with a sermon, not with a revolt, but with a ledger, a wooden tablet, dust-covered and marked with runes, brought in by a steward whose knees crack when he bows. He does not speak. He places it at your feet. You're not meant to read it, but you do. Your fingers trail the grooves of carved names and owed debts. Safiatu, 5 days of spinning, paid with 1 spool of indigo. Bakari, 3 jars for a potter's weight in copper. Adama, miscarriage noted, rest refused, wages docked none. Your throat tightens. This is not a history of ceremony. This is a map of survival. and it is paid in flesh. Fatima enters quiet as always. She sets your tray. Sweet yam, sliced hen egg, bitter greens dusted in ash salt. You ask, where did this come from? She pauses. Answers softly, the southern fields, my lady. They trade before sunrise. Walk barefoot. The cook takes their best to the palace. And the eggs? A village girl brought them. She asked for medicine in return. Did she receive it? Fatima lowers her eyes. You already know the answer. Later, you rise without escort, without summons. You walk the palace not as a queen, but as a shadow with open eyes. 2 guards follow at a distance, unsure if they're meant to stop you. You enter the loom rooms. Dozens of girls kneel in lines. Their hands blur over thread. Their backs bow like wilted reeds. One stabs her finger, wraps it in torn cloth, keeps weaving. You watch in silence. The cloth they make will become your next robe. And now you are ashamed to wear it. Next, the smithy. Boys hammer bronze into bands meant for royal ankles. Not chains, but heavy enough to feel like them. You ask, what does one cuff cost? The apprentice shrugs. 4 goats. And a full set. 10, if the metal's pure. You remember your cousin's wedding. She wore 27. Enough wealth to feed a village for a year. Melted into a parade of sound. You pass the storage chambers. Whale-fat candles never burned. Jars of incense carved from extinct wood. Oils stored in silk pouches labeled sacred use only. One sign reads, use only when nobles present. Reuse unbroken offerings. You breathe in deeply. The air smells like old prayers and rotting luxury. You remember how the temple always smelled, just a little reused. Now you know why. In the courtyard, children play. They toss copper tokens etched with goats and knives. You ask, what is this game? A boy laughs. Bride price. He points. She's worth 2 knives and a fish. The girl smiles like she's supposed to, but her eyes don't. You say nothing, because suddenly you can't speak. Further on, grain sacks are unloaded from donkey carts. Each sack bears a foreign symbol, sea script and salt stamps. You ask a porter, what is this? Tithe, my lady, from the coastal lands. Who paid it? Fisherman. Lost his boat, so they took his harvest instead. You stare at the sacks. You remember the bread served with your honey last night. It tasted like the sea. You reach the lower servants' quarters. No murals here, just dirt floors, woven mats, thin blankets that barely cover bruises. A girl washes blood from her feet. Are you hurt? You ask. She replies, no. Just finished birth work. You hesitate. You're a midwife. She smiles bitterly. Not the kind that delivers life. You nod, because you understand. At last, the herb gardens. The scent is rich. Mint, lemongrass, aloe. But beneath it lingers rot. You ask the gardener, what is that smell? She shrugs. Roots go bad sometimes. We plant more anyway. Why? Because queens must always smell like paradise. You return to your chamber in silence. But the silence isn't emptiness, it's a storm gathering. You undress. You do not call for oils. You do not reach for your golden bangles. Instead, you lie down. Whisper, this isn't royalty. It's scavenging, made beautiful. You remember. Your bracelets were bought with teeth, pulled from women too old to work. Your anklets were polished by children whose spines haven't fully formed. The silk on your robe was dyed with beetles, crushed by girls who've never eaten their fill. You stare at the embroidery on your frame. A peacock, begun 2 years ago. Its feathers curve like chains. Its beak opens in a silent scream. You never stitched that way. But now You can't see anything else. Fatima enters. She asks, "Will you dress for the feast?" You shake your head. "No silks, no jewels." She blinks. You add, "Nothing that cost more than I'm willing to pay." For a moment her lips part, but she says nothing. She only bows. And as she turns away, you see something new in her eyes. Respect, not for your status, not for your robes, but for your clarity. Because now you see what she has always seen, and you can never unsee it again. You were not born to be a girl. You were born to be a symbol, shaped in silence, carved in reverence, wrapped in prophecy. From your first breath, they whispered of your destiny, not in lullabies, but in titles. They did not sing to you. They named you, daughter of divinity, moon of the Mandinka, fruit of the lion's blood. Even when you cried, even when you bled too early, even when you clenched your thighs against the weight of hands too old, too familiar, they still called you divine, because in this place a queen's pain is not tragedy, it is myth. Today the palace air feels heavy, thick with heat, parchment, and the scent of dried hibiscus. The archives await. Sunlight cuts through the carved stone windows in thin gold beams, illuminating the dust like sacred ash. You remove your slippers. Let your soles press into the warm tiles. You walk barefoot into the lie. The royal archivist bows as you pass. He smells of dry ink, old cinnamon, and 1,000 forgotten truths. "What do you seek, my queen?" You don't answer. You don't need to. He already knows. You move to the shelves, ancient and towering, and begin to dig, not for knowledge, but for what they buried. The first scroll crackles as it opens. Your name appears at the top, embroidered in golden pigment. It shines like a blade in sunlight. She, the moon of Mandan, she whose silence still storms, she, born of the king and his shadow. You blink, born of the king and his shadow. You remember your father's hard gaze, your mother's shaking hands, the silence between them that never cracked. You remember a word whispered by a midwife who was punished for saying it, incest. Another scroll, a family tree. The lines coil like snakes devouring their own tails. Uncles become husbands, sisters become wives, cousins fold into cousins. But the scroll calls it purity preserved. You whisper, purity concealed. You leave the table of scrolls, walk deeper into the hall of ancestors. Paintings tower on every wall, queens who look like gods, untouched by age, by sorrow, by blood. Eyes wide and glassy, smiles thin as gold leaf, hands folded in submission. You stop before Queen Aissata, your great-grandmother, the revered one, the pillar, the silent saint. Her crown nearly breaks the canvas. Her posture seems regal, but you look closer, and you see it. Her smile is the smile of surrender. You reach out, brush the edge of her portrait. The wall gives, a panel shifts. Behind it, a leather pouch. You lift it gently. Inside, the scent of age and rot. The feel of something lost, something sacred, pages, old fraying, stained, written in charcoal, signed in grief. Queen Aissata's diary. Today I bled. The priest said it was a cleansing. My body cried. They called it divine. They gave me hen's blood to wake the womb. I vomited. They said the gods were near. My brother kissed me again. I am 12. He is 16. They say I am lucky. They paint me smiling, but I was biting my tongue so I would not scream. They said my womb is the gate to heaven, but I think it is a trap. You hold the pages to your chest. You feel her heartbeat through the years. Not erased, just hidden. Suddenly, the palace feels poisoned. You stumble out. Return to your chamber, stand before your mirror, strip off the silks, pull the beads from your braids, remove the gold from your ears. Let your reflection glare back, bare, burning, unpainted. And you say, not aloud, but deep inside, you were never just a queen. You were the symbol, and the symbol was always the lie. A knock, a court painter enters. He bows. He's here to create your next portrait, the one that will hang beside Aisata's. Garden pose or throne pose, he asks. You say nothing. Would you like to wear the ibis pin or the crocodile band? You walk to the window, point to the sky. Paint me as I am, with my hair undone, with my teeth showing, with dirt on my feet. He hesitates. That's not how queens are remembered. You reply, exactly. You sit for the portrait, not in silk, but in rough cotton, not straight-backed, but slouched, not flawless, but free. His hands tremble as he sketches, not with fear, with truth. That night someone slides a poem beneath your door. No name, no title, just one line. They built a golden cage. You tore off the door and taught us to fly. You hold it to your lips. For the first time, you smile. Not like a queen, like a woman. The next morning, you walk the path no queen ever walks. You go to the servants' quarters. You wash a baby's feet. You carry water with the girls. You call them by name. One asks, "Why are you here, my queen?" You answer, "Because the scrolls will lie." But you will remember the truth. You visit the girl again, the one you saved in court. She's learning to write. Her fingers are ink-stained. Her smile, still cautious but brighter. You kneel beside her. She asks, "Will I be like you?" You answer, "You will be like yourself. Not painted, not rewritten, not owned." She nods. She writes her name, not her father's, not her husband's, her own. That night you do something forbidden. You remove your official portrait. You hang the new one in its place. It is unfinished, rough, but it is honest. It shows you with wild hair. A scar across your chin, eyes fierce, mouth open, not to sing but to speak. In time the people will walk these halls. Future queens will pause before your image. And they will not say she was divine. They will say she was real. Final thematic. Call back. You were never just a queen. You were the symbol. And the symbol was always the lie. You have broken the mirror. Not the polished copper sheet in your chamber. Not the shard of obsidian behind the curtain. The other mirror. The one built for you. Forged in myth and burnished by ritual. Held up not to show you your face, but to erase it. That mirror was made of obedience, of veils stitched in silence, of titles passed like chains. And now it lies in pieces. You walk barefoot across it. You do not bleed. You have bled before, too many times to count. In beds not your own. In temples where pain was relabeled purification. In the echoing spaces of royal history where women vanish like dust between the scrolls. But today, you do not bleed. You burn, mourning. The palace hums like a hornet's nest. The drums sound slower today, not ceremonial, not joyous, measured, tense. The throne hall rises before you. Carved from earth, the color of old blood, its pillars twist like ancestral bones. Its air is thick with spice, smoke, and judgment. Inside, they wait. The king, your cousins, the generals, the scribes, the priesthood, lined in gold, men who know your face, but not your truth. They expect a queen, but what enters is something else. You wear no crown, no chain, no veil stitched with sacred thread, just linen, plain. worn by labourers, not royalty. But linen can carry fire too. They whisper, they shift. One voice hisses, "Where is her chain of office?" Another, "Where is the veil of Mandan?" You stand at the base of the dais. You look upward, only once. Then you speak, your voice calm but not quiet. "I come without the signs you require, because I no longer consent to wear your symbols." A hush falls, dense like dust before a storm. A cousin, your former suitor, rises. His robe is embroidered with your father's emblem. His face burns with entitled rage. "You disgrace your title," he spits. "No," you reply, "I reclaim it." You lift your chin. For too long, queens were cages. We dressed like inheritance. We slept with our brothers, bore sickly airs, and died in painted silence, while the world called us divine. Today I call it what it is: violation, repetition, and the grave made holy. A murmur spreads, nervous, rippling, disbelieving. The high priest approaches. His staff is tipped in sacred bronze. His beard touches his navel. His tongue is drenched in ceremonial contempt. "The gods speak through queens," he warns. You meet his gaze. Then let them answer. Let them answer for the girls wed at 12, for the mothers who bled into prayer mats, for the concubines who vanished in childbirth, for every woman erased and renamed myth. You pull a scroll from your linen, the one you found hidden behind the portrait, the diary of Queen Isata. You raise it high. She wrote with charcoal when ink was denied. She hid her truth behind false portraits. Now, I read it aloud. A soldier steps forward, halberd in hand. The threat is clear, but you've faced sharper blades. Blades of silence, of shame, of lineage. You stare the soldier down. You may strike me, but what I speak will not die, because this day, this moment, will echo through time. Your voice cracks, not from fear, from fullness, from carrying generations of unsaid things. Flashback later that same day. You slip into the tunnel behind the palace kitchens. The air turns cold, damp, lit only by memory. At the far end waits the grove. Overgrown, sacred, abandoned since the queen who once walked into it never returned. 3 figures wait for you. The old midwife, the exiled daughter, the girl whose virginity was once used as political coin. You kneel. You offer them the scroll. The words of Queen Isata pass between them. Each syllable is a resurrection. They weep, then they laugh, then they weep again. The midwife cups your face. "You're not just a queen," she says. "You are the answer we weren't allowed to ask." You nod, and together you plant a fig tree. You wrap its roots in your hair. You water it with salt from your own eyes. "Grow," you whisper, but not upward. Outward. They leave you with new names. The child, fire in her throat. The midwife, she who saved wombs. The daughter, no man's bride. Back in the palace, the backlash begins. They strip your titles. They paint over your portrait. They say your words were curses. Your linen was blasphemy. Your defiance, madness. You do not respond. You are already beneath their reach. You are not in the palace. You are in the blood of the walls now. You are the whisper inside the corridor. A girl in the loom room stops weaving silk. She weaves thread that spells, "Truth is heavier than gold." A temple servant swaps prayer oil for water. She whispers, "The gods are watching her now." A portrait of you, hair wild, teeth bared, is drawn in charcoal. Copied, folded into bread wrappers, hidden in spice jars. Soon you are everywhere and nowhere. A noble house falls. Too many sons with twisted limbs. Too many daughters who never wake after birth. Too many secrets cracked open. A messenger kneels in your corridor. They disbanded, he whispers. They feared the blood was cursed. You do not celebrate. You light a candle. For them, for you, for Queen Aisata, for every womb that was once called a kingdom. A letter arrives from a girl on the southern coast. They told me to marry my uncle. I burned the wedding sheets. You gave me the fire. You press her letter to your chest. You write one back. The fire is yours now. Pass it forward. You visit the girl again, the one you saved from the ambassador. She no longer flinches when men speak. She is learning to read. She writes her name, not her father's, not her future husband's, just her own. You smile. That evening the sky turns violet. You walk to the throne hall, alone. The air is cold, unlit, unwatched. You stand before the king's empty chair. And you whisper, "This seat was built on silence. May it hear itself crumble." You do not need to sit anymore. You have already risen. Foreshadow callback. This day will echo through time. And it does, in ink and footsteps, in the stitched hems of maids who now weave rebellion. In the soft breath of a girl who dares to say no. The sun has disappeared beyond the palace walls, but the heat lingers, not on your skin, but in the stone underfoot, in the arches of the courtyard, in the hollow spaces where the screams once lived, the ones they called ritual, the ones they buried under perfume and praise. Now, night arrives like breath, soft, deliberate, unwatched. You are barefoot. Your cotton robe brushes against your ankles. No embroidery, no crest, no crown. Only a robe dyed in memory. You stand at the center of the inner courtyard, where jasmine climbs the walls like ghostly ink, and the wind carries notes of fig bark, clay, and distant ash. Above you, a velvet sky unraveling slowly. One star, then another, then silence. And for the first time in your life, you're not expected to wear that silence like a veil. You simply let it fall. Like nightfall, like truth, your hands are still sore. The rope from the water pail burned your palms today, not out of spectacle, but out of remembrance. To know what it means to lift something that does not serve power, to carry something that won't be inscribed in gold, to move without being watched. No one followed you this time. No scribe shadowed your feet. No girl mimicked your grace. You were not being queenly. You were simply you. You enter your chamber slowly. There is no ceremony, no horn, no curtain to part. Only the soft groan of an old door. Only the scent of ash and crushed dates. You passed the incense shelf earlier. Its rows of gilded offerings, molded resin, sea salt perfumes. You ignored them. Instead, you crushed a single strip of fig bark, the same your mother used when she braided your hair, before the court stole your scalp and bound your childhood in ribbons of gold. The scent is warm, earthy, unpolished. The flame flickers low in the oil dish. Its shadow dances across the wall, illuminating the words you scratched above your mat. They bent my back, but not my name. I am not a throne. I am the thunder beneath it. You sit cross-legged before the mat. There is a cup of water beside it, clear, salted, infused with clove, not for taste, but for remembering. Your first bleeding came during dry season. The midwife told no one. She whispered, "The river has come for you now, girl." Stay quiet. No ceremony, no blessing, just fear and a cloth, and instructions on silence. Tonight, you drink the water slowly. Let it sting your mouth. Let it pull forward everything that was taken. And then release it. Because tonight, this body is not for bargaining. Not for lineage, not for worship. This body is yours. You kneel, not for gods, not for ancestors trained to watch you obey. You kneel for the truth. You untie the final relic of the council, a beaded belt of office, heavy with bone and jade. You place it in a clay bowl. You strike a spark. It ignites. The beads crackle, but you do not. This is not rebellion. This is return. Outside your chamber, no one stirs. You told the guards to rest. You dismissed the handmaidens. You bolted the priest's door with your own hands. Even the parrots in the royal aviary have gone silent. The empire holds its breath, as if afraid to interrupt the ritual you invented. And still, you are not afraid. You retrieve the small leather pouch hidden beneath your floor tile. Inside, the final page of Queen Isata's diary. The letters are faint, pressed with trembling ink. They made my crown from thorns and called it a blessing, but I smiled so they'd stop carving deeper. You kiss the page, press it under your pillow, because even the silenced speak through paper. And paper remembers. You lie on the mat. No prayer beads, no offerings, just your hand across your womb, not as a curse, not as shrine, not as symbol, only as self. If you birth nothing else, you whisper, let it be truth. Let the next child of this bloodline be story, not royalty. Your shoulders relax, your hips unclench, your jaw releases. Generations of silence spill out of your ribs. And into the stillness, you begin the truth ritual, the one you made yourself. You light a fig candle, place 7 dried hibiscus petals in a circle. Lie in its center. Close your eyes. You do not speak aloud. You speak from the marrow. I wanted to run. I wanted to bite the hand that covered my mouth. I wanted to scream when they called me holy. Each line, a key, each breath, a door. You whisper, I am not the lie you buried in robes. And finally, your breath deepens, and sleep finds you like a promise kept. Dream space. You walk barefoot through a grove of red-leaf trees. The sky glows the color of blood mixed with milk. Branches twist like ancestral script. The wind hums in a language older than pain. You see them? The forgotten, the renamed, the broken queens. Their gowns are tattered, their lips sewn shut, their spines curved from the weight of ritual. You raise your hand, the threads dissolve, one by one, they speak, their voices merge, a song of bruises turned into breath, a storm of syllables that uproots silence. Queen Isata steps forward. She is not divine. She is not beautiful. She is real. She places her palm over your chest. You were the ending I never got. You were the scream I swallowed. You were always meant to finish what we started. You weep, but your tears do not fall. They turn to seeds, and the grove blooms, not with flowers, but with names before dawn. You wake to the call of a grey-winged bulbul. One note, then silence. Your chamber is misted in lavender light. Your body is light. No ache, no chain, no script. You move without asking. You dip your hands into rosewater and ash. One splash, for the girl you once were. Another, for the women you carry. A third, for the world you're still building. You dress in indigo woven by widows. No embroidery. Only thread pulled by hands that refuse to die quietly. You tie it at the waist, and you smile, not for display, but for the mirror you made. You take up the final charcoal stick and write one last line, just above your resting mat, where the next girl will sleep, where the next truth will rise. You were never just a queen. You were the story. And when the next daughter kneels here, when her breath touches the same clay bowl, when her tears fall on the same mat, when her voice rises in the dark like yours once did, she will know You were the wound that became a mirror, the mirror that became a torch, the torch that burned the veil. She will read the words on the wall, and she will not whisper them. She will shout them, because you were the turning point. And finally, as you lower your head to the mat, there is no fear left. Only quiet, only breath, only truth, only you. The fire's long gone out. Only a faint red glow remains beneath the ash. Not flame, but memory. Not heat, but presence. A quiet pulse, steady, like the echo of a heartbeat long buried yet never stilled. Above you, the sky is bone pale. The stars have thinned. The birds have not yet stirred. And the world has not begun its noise. There is no footfall in the courtyard. No commands called. No chants, no drums. Only stillness. And you, awake. You do not move quickly. You do not rise to meet expectation. There is no expectation anymore. The throne still stands. The court still whispers. The scrolls still await new lies. But you are somewhere they cannot follow. Beyond lineage, beyond myth, beyond duty. You are here, in this silence. And the silence does not accuse. It holds you, like a cradle, like a cocoon, like an ancient truth that needed no witness but breath. The reed mat creaks softly as you shift. You press your fingers to the line you carved last night. You were never just a queen. You were the story. The charcoal has blurred, smudged by wind, by time, by sleep, but not erased, because truth stains deeper than ink. You breathe it in, and suddenly you remember not just your name, but all the names they tried to hide. You see her now, the girl who bled and was shamed, the bride who was 12 and told she was blessed, the mother who wept when her child was taken for the gods, the sister whose beauty was punished with a locked door. You do not imagine them. You see them, sitting beside you, whispering behind you, woven into your ribs. They were never gone. They were waiting for you. You are not their end, you are their mirror. The page they never got to write, and now they are written. There is something sacred about this hour, when the world hovers between the last breath of night and the first exhale of morning. This is not the time for conquest, not for command, not for gold or glory. This is the time for remembering, for reflecting, for releasing. You rise, not because a servant calls, but because your own heartbeat tells you it's time. You walk slowly across the stone floor, cold beneath your feet, but honest, solid, not a stage, not a pedestal, just earth. At the water basin, you do not wash away yesterday. You scoop a palmful and drink it, cool, sharp, alive. You carry it with you. Because yesterday was not just memory, it was metamorphosis. It was the moment you stepped beyond title, beyond silence, beyond survival. You became someone new. You became you. Outside the soil is damp with dew. The horizon bruises with lavender and rose. The air tastes like newness. You step into the grove, barefoot, unadorned, unburdened, and there it is, the fig tree. Planted in secret, watered with salt and hope, wrapped in a lock of your hair. Its leaves are soft, but they don't tremble. They stand just like you. You kneel beside it, press your hand to the dirt, close your eyes, and you listen. Not for command, not for prophecy, not for song, just for the earth. And it says nothing. And still you understand. The silence here is not hollow. It is whole. It does not erase. It holds. It honors. It remembers. You hear soft footsteps. A girl, the one from the kitchen. The one with the braid that reminds you of your own, years ago. She kneels beside you. No questions, no ceremony, just presence. She opens her palm. Inside, A bundle wrapped in plain cloth. You accept it, unwrap it. 7 strips of fabric, each dyed in ash, each stitched with a name. Not of kings, not of gods, not of heroes, but of the ones never crowned. A girl taken too young, a sister renamed for convenience, a queen erased for defiance, a mother silenced in childbirth, a daughter given as offering, a widow discarded, a wife abandoned. You nod, and the girl smiles. Together, without a word, you begin sewing. Not a robe, not a banner, but a veil, the last veil. And when the stitching is done, you burn it, and the ashes rise like wings. Back inside, the air has changed, not cooled, not warmed, but cleared. You sit at your writing stone, pick up your ink-stained brush, and write, not for archives, not for scribes, for her, the girl who will one day wake in this room. Place her hand where yours once rested, trace the scars in the stone, and ask, who was I before they named me? You write, you were not born to repeat. You were born to remember, to refuse, to become. Then they feared your truth, not your power. So speak. You put down the brush, blow out the flame, and let the dark come, not as danger, but as return. A soft cloak, a final silence, and in it you breathe one last time. You were never just a queen, you were the story. Soft outro narration for viewers. You lived it, you felt it. But would you survive it again? Would you survive the silence, the weight of a crown that never asked what you wanted? Would you survive being chosen, not for your will, but for your blood? Because in this world, your beauty could kill you, your loyalty could cage you, and your voice might be the only thing that ever saves you. Comment prompt: Emotional CTA. Let me ask you something. Could you have survived a single day in her world? Not as a visitor, but as her. As the girl silenced by ritual. As the woman blamed for being born royal. As the queen who learned that breaking silence meant breaking history itself. If you're still here, still listening, you are part of a rare few who carry ancient voices in your blood. You're not just watching a story, you are remembering one. So tell me, what would you have done if your crown was made of your mother's bones? What if your legacy wasn't gold, but truth? Sleep well, storyteller. And if this story stirred something in you, a shiver, a question, a wound you forgot was there, don't look away. Lean in, because history isn't behind us. It breathes through us, and now, so do you.